Hey friends, how's it going? I'm not going to put my face in the video today because I'm feeling real sick, as you can probably hear. But today I've got some red Wrinkle Plus VHT paint. I've got a new HKS intake which I have to unwrap. And basically we're going to try and wrinkle red it so it matches the manifold in the STI. The stuff you're going to need: heat gun. I'm going to use brake cleaner to clean the intake part, and then the paint. If you're doing your parts in your engine that are going to get hotter than an intake pipe, you probably want to use some sort of primer. I'm not too sure. But this is my first time trying this wrinkle stuff, so it could fail, but hopefully you will learn from my mistakes. So first things first, let's get the intake out and let's get started. Alright, so here is the intake dismantled. I'm just going to give it a clean now, and then I'll mask up the ends and where the sensor goes as well. See, I have masked them up. Basically what I've done is just put tape over the top and then cut around the edges. I filled the sensor hole and then tried to mask the whole thing. And then after going over it with brake cleaner, I also just cleaned off with some mineral terps. Kara, stop complaining. So yeah, now we're basically ready to go for our first paint coat. I have read somewhere that you want to make sure that your part is like warm, not cold. So I'll just hit it quickly with the heat gun. I won't get it hot, but just enough so that it's not cold to touch. And then we can start applying some paint. So I've heated them up so they're warm to touch, so we can do our first coat. I've been checking the can for about a minute, make sure it's a little bit warm as well. Basically you want to do your first coat either all horizontally or all vertically. So we'll just start with horizontally because it's easier. So it does say you want really thick coats. Obviously you don't want to go too thick that it runs. So it looks like it's pretty well covered. I'm glad I put these tiny little rags on the table to stop overspray. Alright, I'm just going to go over it now and just make sure I've hit every spot. There's a bit there that I've missed. Alright, so now I've seen a few ways of how you can get the wrinkle. I'm going to do the stage by stage one where you heat it in between each coat. I've seen other people who just let it dry and then put it in the oven for 4 hours. I've seen people who just heat gun it at the very end, but I'm going to try and do it at each stage and see how that works. So let's get the heat gun and try that. So from what I've read, you want it to just start wrinkling and then you want to move on to the next section. So far, nothing. I'll keep going to this and then check back in. As you can see, it's worked. It's wrinkling through. That one I was working on a little bit longer. This one's starting to come through now. Basically, that's what you want it to start looking like after your first coat. So now we'll do vertical coat. Nice thick coat again, and then once again apply the heat. That second thick coat applied, so now we're going to do the heat on them and try and get the wrinkles to come through again. Here's how it's starting to wrinkle after the second coat. It's the wrinkle I was going for. This is sort of the wrinkle that is on like the parent strut brace and that sort of stuff, all your Subaru parts. I think the technique I'm going for gets you like the more smaller wrinkles like this. I think if you do the big oven at the end, I think you get the larger wrinkles. I guess it just depends what you're going for, but obviously don't quote me on that, I'm not too sure. You can see kind of stuffed up there a little bit. You can't notice it too much. Alright, so do the last coat now. So it's a horizontal coat. And then we'll apply the heat and let them sit for a while, and hopefully they'll wrinkle up heaps nice. Here's what it's looking like after the third coat and the third heat blasting. You can see the wrinkles starting to come through pretty nicely. What I'm going to do is just let it sit and cure for a couple hours. It should change a little bit as well. And then I'll come back and do a final walk around. And I'll compare it to what's already in the engine bay on the car, which is from Subaru OEM and then also from the parent factory. And you can compare, I guess, the can finish versus a professional, production finish. So they've been curing for a few hours now. As you can see, I've taken all the tape off. It's getting out in the sun so you can see the finish. I'm pretty happy with it. It's got the wrinkle finish, that's what you want. So let's just go compare it to what I've already got in the car. So you can see that the standard manifold is a little bit larger, but in terms of the finish compared to the parent, it's pretty freaking close. So I'm really happy with the result on that. Last thing I'm going to do is just file down this HKS emblem on the pipe here, and then we're done. Well, there we go, that's the finished product. Pretty happy with how it turned out. I might try and do some other things. Obviously you can see around the edges there's a bit here, but I figured that doesn't really matter because the silicone hose goes over them anyway, so I didn't bother masking them properly. Might have a go doing a few other things in the engine bay, but for now I'm stoked with how this came out. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and if you want to see this intake installed on my car, make sure to subscribe and tune in for the next video.